I'm going to start welcoming in folks, and then we could get started. Sounds good?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for dialing in to preparing for third-party cookie deprecation. My name is Esther Choi. I'm a news partner manager here at Google, and I'm excited to get started on this training session for you all. We really appreciate the time that you spent with us, carved out today to learn more about preparing for third-party cookie deprecation. To walk you through a little bit of what we'll go through today, I'll be playing a really short 2-minute video on an overview of preparing for the cookie deprecation as it relates to Privacy Sandbox. Then myself and some of my Google colleagues here will be walking you through what we believe is a pretty foundational training on what it means that third-party cookies are being deprecated and what you can do to prepare yourselves. So we're really excited to get that going. We'll also carve out time at the end for Q&A. So please shoot us over questions or comments right in the right side part of your window. There's a comments section. You should be able to plug in any questions or comments there, and we'll moderate through that at the end of the call. So we're going to get started. If at any point you can't hear or see a proper part of this presentation, please chat, and one of my colleagues will notify me. All right, getting us started, let me play this video and hope you enjoy this 2-minute overview.
The web is an amazing, glorious thing.
The diversity of content that's out there, no matter how niche or how specific or how unique it is.
None of that would have been possible without advertising.
Publishers monetize their content experiences through advertising.
And that's enabled all the stuff that we enjoy today about how the internet works. But it's also clear that from a privacy perspective, some of the building blocks of the internet, and particularly digital advertising, need to evolve and change.
Privacy expectations are rising, and regulation in some markets is now putting in place specific rules. Privacy Sandbox is fundamentally rewriting how the internet works and finding a more sustainable path for everyone.
Turning cookies off is relatively straightforward.
But simply turning it off does not actually solve the problem. In fact, it can backfire and make it worse.
If we don't do something else, then most websites would lose a substantial amount of their revenue. There's just going to be a lot less web out there.
I think that's where the tension is, right? So as we think about reinventing how digital advertising works, we need to both improve user privacy, but ensure that it continues to work effectively for publishers and for businesses.
I think phasing out third-party cookies is one of the toughest challenges I've ever encountered.
The way we're approaching building Privacy Sandbox is not isolated.
We have one little part that is our part of this whole story.
We are in contact with the ecosystem, with the policy world.
This is all one big conversation that is going to get the internet to a much better place than it started out. We're a company that thrives because the web is awesome. And it's because the contents of the web is so amazing that it's worth a Google existing in the first place.
Now, we're just in the beginning of our journey here.
It's going to be a journey of years, right, to continue to improve on what we're doing.
This is the key moment really for the ecosystem to start growing next generation technology. And we're trying to transition the internet to a new way of doing things.
Making the information on the web keep working, even as we make everything around it more private. That's what we're all about. That's why we're here.
All right. Thank you for watching that. Hopefully that gave you kind of a pretty solid precursor of what we're trying to talk to you all about today. Give me 60 seconds to get my screen loaded and start our training process. Right. Hopefully you all can see the screen. Please nod if you can. Fantastic. Okay. Let's see here. Give me 60 seconds to make sure that this page works correctly on my end. All right. So welcome everyone to this webinar, Preparing for Third-Party Cookie Deprecation. To ensure that you are as well informed and prepared as possible for the second half of the year and into 2025, we wanted to give you insight and understanding into your site's third-party cookies, next steps, and answer any questions you may have. Your feedback is really important. So as I mentioned at the top of this call, feel free to ask questions either in the comment box of this webinar or hold them to the end, and we'll open up the floor for those questions to be asked. As you may know, Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Myself and my colleague Danielle here are part of the Google News Initiative, which is Google's effort to partner with publishers and journalists around the world to build a long-lasting, diverse, and innovative news ecosystem through training, programs, and products. Prior to Google, I worked at a number of other tech companies like Amazon, Yahoo, and eBay. And I also started my career off in the news industry at a company called Knight Ridder, which is now the parent company of a number of news publishers across McClatchy and Media News Group. Danielle, if you wouldn't mind, give us a quick intro of yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much, Esther. Hi, everyone. My name is Danielle Noriega. If we've met before, it's nice to see you again. If this is our first time, nice to meet you. I also have a news background, worked in several newsrooms, CNN Espanol, Univision. I was at Meta for 8 years. I was professor at Syracuse University currently, and now with the wonderful Google News Initiative team. So it's great to see you.
Thanks, Danielle. Billions of people around the world rely on access to information on sites and apps, and to make quality journalism available without everyone relying on intrusive tracking, publishers need to be able to serve relevant content and ads while preserving user privacy. And we're hoping to give you guys an overview of how to best manage for that today. Navigating third-party cookie deprecation can be tricky, and as you saw at the video at the top of the call, kind of overview of Google's lens on that. And in a recent Google Digiday study, only 9% of publishers have a complete plan for the end of third-party cookies. Most publishers, 73%, have a partial plan, while 11% have yet to start implementing a plan. And if you're in that bucket, you are not alone. To help you prepare for third-party cookie deprecation, we're also excited to introduce you to an expert from our Google Web Privacy team, Serino. Serino, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves and giving us a quick bio of yourself.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Serino. I work as a technical solutions consultant at Google, and my main job is to support partners, publishers, all kinds of companies to prepare for third-party cookie deprecation and help them, solve these technical challenges.
Awesome. Thanks, Serino. And Serino will be on at the end of the call to answer any questions you might have. So feel free to ask those again in the comment section or hold them at the end. We'll open up the floor. So we have 3 items on our agenda today, or 2 really main ones. We'll give you an overview of third-party cookie deprecation and what third-party cookies are most commonly used for. And then we'll walk you through a new Google Chrome extension that will help you understand and track your third-party cookies that your site currently uses, and we'll walk you through those step by step. Danielle will be leading that portion of this webinar. So let's get started. It's really difficult to conceive of the internet we know today, with information on every topic and every language and at the fingertips of billions of people, without ads as its economic foundation. And for nearly 3 decades, third-party cookies have helped businesses serve relevant ads to their customers, and website owners earn ad revenue for content they create. Cookies also have other uses outside of advertising that help websites function smoothly, like payments, embedded videos, and more. And while they can be used to track your website activities, Sites have also used them to support a range of other online experiences, like helping you log in or showing you relevant ads. However, as many of you may know, third-party cookies come with privacy compromises. People have higher expectations of privacy and are concerned about the way their data is collected and used online. Third-party cookies have outlived their intended use. Gathering user data has led to an erosion of trust. In fact, 72% of people feel that almost all of what they do online is being tracked by advertisers, technology firms, or other companies. And 81% say that potential risks they face because of the data collection outweigh the benefits, according to a study by Pew Research Center. So, if digital advertising doesn't evolve to address the growing concerns people have about their privacy and how personal identity is being used, we risk the future of a free and open web. That's why Google Chrome and other browsers have begun phasing out third-party cookies to better protect user privacy, and why Chrome has been working with the broader industry on the Privacy Sandbox. The Privacy Sandbox introduces a range of application programming interfaces, or APIs, which require web browsers to take on a new role. Rather than working with limited tools and protections, the APIs allow a user's browser to act on the user's behalf locally on their device to protect the user's identifying information as they navigate the web. This is a shift in direction for browsers. In contrast, other web browsers have restricted third-party cookies without viable alternatives to support developers. This makes it harder for publishers to support their content and services, and it's bad for user privacy because it leads to more covert forms of user tracking. Even so, we continue to get questions about whether Google will join others in the ad tech industry who plan to replace third-party cookies with alternative user-level identifiers. And Google has been very explicit that once third-party cookies are phased out, we will not build alternative identifiers to track users as they browse across the web. But make no mistake, even with new building blocks in place, moving away from third-party cookies is a significant change. After all, the industry has optimized around cookies for nearly 3 decades. And we all know change is hard, requiring time and effort to understand and adopt new approaches. As you may know, third-party cookie deprecation rolled out for 1% of Chrome users in January 2024 to facilitate testing of the Privacy Sandbox APIs. Subject to addressing any concerns with the CMA, we envision proceeding with third-party cookie deprecation for all Chrome users starting in early 2025. Participants for tracking protections are selected randomly, and if you're chosen, you'll get notified when you open Chrome on either desktop or Android. As you browse the web, third-party cookies will be restricted by default, limiting the ability to track you across different websites. If a site doesn't work without third-party cookies and Chrome notices you're having issues, like you refresh a page multiple times, you'll be prompted with an option to temporarily re-enable third-party cookies for that site from the eye icon on the right side of your address bar, which you can see a picture here in the screen. To support news publishers like you through this transition, we'll give you an overview of the most commonly found third-party cookies and next steps to help you deprecate them so there aren't any interruptions to your site. And later in the session, Danielle will cover the Privacy Sandbox analysis tool, which you can use to discover breakages on your site, like sign-in flows or payments. All right, first, the largest category of third-party cookies across publishers is marketing cookies. These cookies are placed in the browser of a party other than the owner of the site a person is visiting. They're used to track visitors across the web, gathering information about browsing habits. The data collected is often used by advertisers to deliver targeted ads that are relevant to the user's interests. Last year, Google Ad Manager and AdSense announced that publishers who have first-party cookies enabled will be able to serve personalized ads with minimal technical effort. When a publisher allows, Google uses first-party cookies to improve ad relevance on a publisher's site based on ad interactions users took on the same site. These first-party cookies are used to create aggregated audiences to help advertisers reach audiences in browsers where third-party cookies aren't available. Publisher first-party cookies cannot be used to track users across the web. They are scoped per publisher, are not shared with other publishers, can't be joined with any other identifiers, and are subject to user consent. When publisher first-party cookies are enabled for ad personalization, ads are shown based on people's behavior on a single publisher's website. Publisher first-party cookies also respect ads personalization's preferences as indicated through ad choices controls. As digital ads evolve to meet people's changing privacy expectations, we're working on new ways to make it easier for publishers and content creators of all sizes to continue to thrive. Second, functional cookies make up 28% of third-party cookies. Functional cookies are necessary for a website to function properly. They enable basic functionalities like page navigation, sign-in, registration services, payment services, access to secure areas, and remembering user preferences like language or font size. As with many previous deprecations on the web, we understand there are cases where sites need extra time to make the necessary changes. And for these cookies, you can request additional time with a third-party deprecation trial as a way to access third-party cookies until December 27th, 2024. Developers are expected to make necessary changes and plans by the trial end date. And for more information, you can go to this URL. And if one of my colleagues wouldn't mind adding that URL into this webinar chat, folks can access it quickly. All right, finally, analytics. Analytics cookies are used to gather information about how users interact with a website. They provide you with insights into their behavior, like the number of visitors, the most popular pages, and the average time spent on the site. If you use Google Analytics, you may have migrated from Universal Analytics to Google Analytics 4 last year. As some background, Universal Analytics was built for a generation of online measurement that was anchored in desktop web, independent sessions, and more easily observable data from cookies. This measurement methodology is quickly becoming obsolete. Meanwhile, Google Analytics 4 operates across platforms, does not rely exclusively on cookies, and uses an event-based data model to deliver user-centric measurement. All right. I gave you guys a pretty extensive background on cookies, and now I'm going to hand it off to my colleague Danielle, who will go over next steps for third-party cookie deprecation.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Esther. Hi, everyone. So we're going to talk a little bit about next steps and setting expectations. So with all things, whether it's your website, your platform, whatever it is that you're using, you know your website best, you know your codes best, plugins, dependencies best. So one of our biggest recommendations is to regroup with your developers, identify any findings you might find through the Privacy Sandbox tool that we will address towards the end, and then confirm any pending issues that may exist to get ahead of these deprecations. So first things first is to regroup with your developers. For our next step, so now that you've chatted with your developers, you want to talk a little bit about checking those common critical user journeys. So we have quite a few listed here. So from page navigation, content personalization, comments, sign-in, registration, payment, access to secure areas like paywalls, quite a bit here. Remembering user preferences, languages to know. In addition to that isn't listed up here, also subscriptions and affiliate linking as well. So thinking about how this user journey can be as seamless as possible. So if I'm logged into separate different aspects of your website, how do I ensure I continue to be logged in as well? So I want to talk a little bit about Universal Analytics code, removing any remaining code, and if we can plug in that link real quickly into the chat. But as Esther mentioned, if you use Google Analytics, you may have migrated from Universal Analytics to GA4, Google Analytics 4, last year. So if you're still accessing and using Universal Analytics, you have until July 1st, 2024. So that is a big key date, July 1st, 2024. It's going to be here before you know it, to migrate your data. So if you've already migrated from Universal Analytics, but are still seeing Google Analytics cookies, it might mean you have Universal Analytics code remaining in your site. So to deprecate these cookies, you need to remove any remaining Universal Analytics code or update any plugins that are still using Universal Analytics. So I'll make sure to plug in that link for you guys, but just so you stay on top of any sort of Universal Analytics code. Again, I repeat, the deadline is July 1st to fully migrate. So next steps also include updating site plugins and code libraries. So you might be using plugins or other code libraries for marketing that we chatted about earlier, site functionality or analytics to provide a smoother site experience. So like keeping your audience logged in, for example, saving site preferences, remember that long list we had, allowing third-party logins. It might be helpful to review use cases for third-party cookies. We'll touch on the analysis tool to better understand where your site stands. So if you're seeing something like Google Ads, for example, DoubleClick, Tag Manager, any other Google product, you might be using outdated plugin or code library. So if you use a CMS like WordPress or Newspack, update your plugins in your CMS's dashboards or settings, or contact your vendor directly. So checking in with vendors and third-party service providers, you've gone through the list of how to ensure that your users have a seamless experience on your site. You've chatted with your developers. You've ensured that you are on top of that UA migration that's coming up July 1st. I can't emphasize this enough, but another next step you want to do is you want to check in with your vendors and those third-party service providers. So every vendor or provider should have a plan for third-party cookies phase out. So the Chrome team is working with many vendors through the ad tech and web tech industries throughout this transition. So in case your vendor provider hasn't announced their plans yet or reached out to you about it, you can also check with them directly to understand what their plans are looking like ahead and how you can adapt to this. So let's say, for example, you may need to upgrade a version of a library you're using, change configuration, option the service, or take no action if the third party is handling necessary changes themselves. So this will differ, obviously, site to site. In some cases, you may need to identify an alternative solution. So just to wrap up here, check in with those third-party vendors, understand what those next steps are, what those deadlines are on top, and stay on top of them to understand how you can effortlessly go through the third-party cookie deprecation. Lastly, before we get into the Privacy Sandbox tool, we want to talk about reporting any breakages. So the Chrome team wants to learn about scenarios where sites break when third-party cookies are restricted to ensure that we provide adequate guidance, tooling, and functionality to allow sites to migrate away from their third-party dependencies. So third-party cookie dependencies, I apologize. So if your site or service you depend on is breaking with third-party cookies disabled, you can file an issue or a breakage tracker here at the link above. So I'll make sure to actually plug this one. I know I forgot the earlier one. But also there's the Privacy Sandbox solutions that are designed to help with certain breakages, like sign-in, for example, sharing data across related sites. You and your developers can visit privacysandbox.com for more information on using the relevant APIs. In the case of non-advertising use cases, you can also request additional migration time, which would exclude your embedded site or service from the 1% trial. Let me just plug in that link for everybody to report any breakages that you may see. Great. Thank you. All right, so we're going to wrap up with the Privacy Sandbox analysis tool that I was referencing a little bit earlier. So we're going to go through it step by step to help you understand what cookies you use and provide insights on how Privacy Sandbox APIs work in Chrome. The web privacy team, just for some background at Google, created a Chrome extension called Privacy Sandbox Analysis Tool, and it was developed as an open source project. So if you want to learn more about the tool, please check out the GitHub. So I'll send over the link to that as well. But let's kick off with first steps. So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a new Chrome profile. And this is where you can basically audit your cookies with the Privacy Sandbox tool. Have an understanding of where they're coming from, what are the platforms that they're using. And I want to include as well that this list doesn't include what vendors or plugins are using those third-party cookies. But again, if you see any Google ads that I mentioned earlier, DoubleClick, Tag Manager, or other Google products, it may be from an outdated plugin or code library. So your first step is to create the new Chrome profile. Next step, you go to the actual tool. So you go to this website for the PSAT tool. So I'll plug this in as well. Once you're there, you now select the Add to Chrome button in the top right corner that you see. Privacy Sandbox Analysis Tool needs to access the page debugger backend and read and change your data and manage your apps, extensions, and themes. So to approve, select Add Extension. From here, once you add that extension, that third step is add to Chrome. So you get a confirmation message when it's been added to Chrome. Fourth step, next you open a new window and you go to your website. So in this case, we have the example times.com, daniellenoriega.com, and better analyze and understand where my cookies are coming from. So to use the extension, select the icon to the top right of the address bar and select the Analyze this tab button. And if you're not seeing the icon, select the puzzle piece icon and it will open a list of your extensions. And then we kind of skipped ahead a couple steps, but at number 5, after you select the Analyze this tab, the Privacy Sandbox Analysis tool will classify all observed cookies as first or third-party cookies, as well as categories Esther shared earlier. So you saw marketing, functionality. The tool uses and contributes to the Open Cookie database as an open source effort to describe and categorize cookies in the ecosystem. We'll make sure to send over a recording of what that looks like to use the Privacy Sandbox Analysis tool, along with additional resources to really understand how to get ahead of the third-party cookie deprecation. To wrap up on our 6th step here, for more information on your cookies, you can go to Chrome DevTools by right-clicking and selecting Inspect and then selecting Privacy Sandbox. So if you see here, you see the little icons that break down exactly where your cookies are coming from. So under the cookie section, you'll see a list of all your third-party cookies. And then from there, your developers can also use the Privacy Sandbox Analysis tool to test for breakages, like we mentioned earlier, by viewing your site with third-party cookies disabled. This particular tool will continue to be updated, so just we'll ensure to stay on top of that and let you know of any changes that may happen with the tool. But for now, these are the core steps you should be taking to better understand where your site sits today and working with your developers to ensure that, again, we lead towards a seamless future across your sites.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to our training webinar to this point. Again, in sum, the next steps that between myself and Danielle outlined are listed here. We've also added to the comment section of this webinar the URLs that Danielle walked you through so that you can go ahead and begin the exercise. We'll also follow up with an email following this webinar with some of the details, including a survey that you may be able to fill out. With that, we want to open up the floor for questions, either through the comment section of this discussion or those that were pre-submitted. I believe we have a number that were pre-submitted, so we'll go and actually get started with that.
Yeah, thanks, Esther. So hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Ashcraft. I'm a news partner manager here based in New York. So I was helping to curate some of the questions in advance. Thanks to those who submitted. So the first is, Sereno, when third-party cookies go away, will AMP results be directed to the parent domain, or will those pages continue to be hosted by ampproject.org? This may cause issues with consent management.
Yes, so AMP itself is not tied to third-party cookie deprecation, so that's not going to change the way AMP works or the way AMP serves the pages. So there's not going to be, the results are not going to be directed to the parent domain. So having said that, you know, in terms of consent management, this remains kind of responsibility of the site owners to keep ensuring it's still enabled.
Fantastic, thank you. And if there are any follow-up questions, we do encourage you to keep popping those into the comment section. The next question that came in was, will Google adopt Unified ID 2.0?
No, the answer to that is no. There's no plans for Google to adopt that at the moment.
Thank you. And then the third one we received is, how adversely will this impact our website?
Well, this needs to be evaluated on a case by case. Each website could have different kinds of impact. That's why we are encouraging every site owner to audit their websites, and as Danielle was explaining, they can use the PSAT tool and audit their most important customer journeys to ensure that nothing is breaking. Basically, the idea is to run this audit using tools like the PSET extension, and kind of enable the settings in Chrome to block third-party cookies, so you simulate how it's going to work in the future once they're deprecated. That way, you can identify possible impact in your or things that could break in your website. And if you do, then we have under the Privacy Sandbox initiative, we have a bunch of new technologies and APIs that Chrome has launched in order to address those breakages and keep those user journeys working. We have some good documentation that where we have guides, step-by-step guides on how to do these audits, how to test for breakage, and where you can find more details on our solutions. I can maybe somebody can help me. I'm going to share the link. Maybe somebody can help me paste it in the comment section, please.
I got it.
So there, yeah, in that link, you can find step-by-step guides on what you should do to ensure you are ready. You're getting ready for the third-party cookie deprecation.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sereno. So those were all of the pre-submitted questions. Are there any others that you guys would like to drop into the comments chat?
I saw one.
One.
Let's see. How Connect2i asks, so how is first-party data collected by publishers? How is consent obtained from viewers?
Yeah, so, well, first-party data, publishers, they collect this based on interactions users have on their own sites, and they use several tools like analytics tools or information from their own users who are possibly already logged in their sites, and they're able to collect their interactions with their site this way. And in terms of how consent is obtained, you've probably seen cookie banners where sites explain what kind of cookies, what kind of data they're collecting. There are tools for this, like consent management platforms that some publishers can use. They should also keep this information kind of updated in their privacy policy page on their sites as well, kind of to make it very clear to their users what kind of data they're collecting from them.
Great, thank you.
Do we have any other questions for those that are dialed in? Don't be shy. You're welcome to add them to the comment section of this chat. We're happy to answer it. You have 4 live experts ready to help you navigate this world. So please don't be shy. Okay, have we reached an uncomfortable level of silence yet, guys? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining this webinar. We know that this is a really complex and sophisticated topic area, and we're here to help you all. So hopefully this is the start of many resources that Google will continue to offer in the months to come. But please get started on preparing for cookie deprecation as soon as you can. Reach out to us over the series of communication paths that we'll be emailing you. And if you have any other questions, let us know. Look out for an email where you can see follow-up information from the team here, as well as a survey to fill out. We'd love for you all to respond and be as candid as possible in that survey. So Please look up for that and fill it out when you receive it in your inboxes. And with that, we will happily give you about 23 minutes back on the hour. Enjoy your day, and thank you for joining this webinar. We really appreciate your attendance, and have a good one. Bye, everyone.